For this week's fill-in series, we're going to be looking at Grace Greater Than Our Sins. And this song in the chorus is going to have a few places where the sopranos and tenors will hold, while the altos and basses will echo marvelous grace. And so during this hold, let's talk about 3 different ways we can fill in this spot on each chorus. Now, there's 4 verses for this hymn, and I'm going to give you fill-ins that will gradually build. So the first fill-in would be something that I'd use towards the beginning, and then as we get near the end, we obviously want the song to build, grow, and climax. So I'm going to change my fill-ins based on the song climaxing towards the very end. So let's start with the very first fill-in, and the first one I'm going to use is pretty basic. I'm going to use an arpeggio. Now we can use upward arpeggios or we can use downward arpeggios, and I'm going to show you both ways, but I'm just going to use a pretty simple arpeggio with kind of a nice rolling left hand pattern. So as we end off that verse, we have there, arpeggio, I'm going to be on my melody on beat 1, Grace, and then I'm going to use this inversion of an arpeggio. And when I get down to this section here, I'm just going to duplicate that. You can start it way up high if you want, or we can start it right here. So with that in mind, I might do something like this. So first verse I would use maybe an arpeggio. Now let's go to the second verse, and I'm going to build a little bit more with this one. And I'm going to use an outline of the chord. So when we're talking about outlining the chord, if I have a G major chord, the notes that make up my G major chord are G, B, and D. So I'm going to use these kind of like a skeleton to outline as everybody's singing and holding. So if we say outline, and if my melody is on a B, that's the beginning of the chorus there. This is the inversion that I'm in for that G major chord, and I'm going to outline it. Okay, now with this in mind, I just play the tones of the G major chord. Now I have 3 beats here. So I have to make sure that I play whatever outline I'm playing, that the speed matches how many beats I have, and that on my downbeat, I'm going to land on this G here. Now, if we take it in 8th notes, let's look at it in 8th notes. We have grace and 2 and 3. And we'll see what happens is I've landed there before the downbeat. I want to land on this on 1. So that means 8th notes are a little bit too fast for me just outlining. Now here's a few tweaks I can do. I was ahead by half of a beat. So if I want to keep the 8th note feel, I can add a note into that. And step up to it. Now that F sharp wasn't a part of the G major chord, but it's a leading tone to that G. So now what I have is 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. So if we go to the next one, it's C on God's grace. So I'm going to do a C chord and I'm going to outline it. God's. My timing here again is 3 beats, 1 and 2 and 3, and it works perfectly. Now I'm landing on the downbeat of grace. So let's put that into context. While I'm doing this, my left hand is going to add just some basic chords with it. To add a lot of emphasis to this final verse where we're telling others about his marvelous grace, and we're calling them and really asking them if they're going to receive his grace. So this is the big part of, this song, the final chorus. And so I like to do a unison melody, and then I'm going to hit the chord, whatever chord we're on, as if we have a grace note with it. Now, with this in mind, I'm going to do something different with my left hand. I'm going to keep it on what we call a pedal tone. So for the entire time where we're playing grace, grace, God's grace, my left hand, even though we're going from a G chord to a C chord and back to the G, I'm going to keep my left hand on this G low octave to create anticipation for the next phrase, and then I'll go back to that on the final grace, grace, God's grace. So here's what it would sound like.